Okay, so I can also cut out this other side of the dart. Because I'm not going to need that anymore. So now it's starting to look a lot like a princess panel. It's just a little pointy, but we will smooth that out. So we want this to look like the profile of the dress form pretty much. So we don't want it to be super pointy. And so they recommend that you shape the bust curve as shown. That's not very helpful. But it looks like about 2 inches where your cross mark was for your notch. They recommend that you go in about, does it say 16?
16.
Okay. So in, right, a 1/16 of an inch there. Make a little cross mark on what's going to be your ease control notch. And then in the lower half, it looks lower than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this bottom section in half and see if I like that. So I just folded the waist to touch this open section here, and I get that right about there in the middle. And that looks like it'll work for me. And then there, they tell you to go in 1/8 of an inch.
Go out 1/8 of an inch?
In.
Yeah, draw inward.
And the other one was out. This one is out, sorry. Out is 16.
So yeah, it's out
Yeah,
of 16
yeah.
over the
Yeah.
curve and.
So we'll extend this little guy here. And then, yeah, out, not in. Out is 16. There we go. And those are just guide marks. And you can actually square them out further. So I can, because you don't have to hit right on that spot. You're just trying to make a smooth shape. So I'm just going to make a light line there. And a light line there, just to give me a bigger target to hit. So now what I want to do is I want to meet back at the waist, a very smooth transition. So let's try this out and see if this one works. So I'm going to have to shift my curve several times. So right now I have my curve hitting the 1/8 in, and about 1/2 inch from the waist, what used to be the dart placement line, I am about 1/2 inch up. My curve traverses that. So I'm not going all the way down because I still want it to be square right there. So I'm going to draw that, and then come up here. Smoother, so maybe I'll put it this way. And I'm looking over here at this to see how it's hitting there. Little heart shaped. And really my favorite tool for this is the Variform curve, but I'm gonna just go too far in. This looks like the extreme edge of the French curve because it's super shallow. Okay, that looks like it's gonna work. And then I'm gonna have to shift it at least one more time. Okay, so now my curve is hitting that mark, and then it's shifting off of the paper. Yeah, it's shifting off. Maybe I can lower just a little bit more. Shifting off the paper about 3/4 of an inch towards the waist from that ease control notch mark. Let's see if that works out. And then I'm going to flip it again, and starting from my dot paper there, shift it up a little bit, come over the bust, and then come down this way. So I'm just trying to make like a smooth bust curve kind of a shape. Right there. There. And then from there, still need a curve. I think my hip curve would be better for this because it's a long line. So I'm going to want to use my hip curve to connect from here to here, but let's see what it looks like if I use my ruler. Might not be that bad.
No, it looks pretty straight.
So what I have here is it's creating a, here, let me erase some of it so it's easier to see. So I have lines that are passing each other, but what I'm trying to create is this sort of S curve. So in at the waist, out at the bust, and then out over the bust and back to the shoulder. And I feel like this could be a little higher, but I'll cut it out and see how I like it. But it looks all right. So that's pretty much it for this. Do you see any issues with it? Like this, like if you were gonna try to cut this out to test it, like this white part, right? This I don't have to put on dot paper or on brown paper because I didn't really do anything to it. But if you're gonna try and cut it out and test it, do you see any issues that you might have? Well, on a block, we usually don't have seam allowance. So I would staple this down and cut this shape out, right, along these pencil lines, which I'll do in a minute. Oh, here's my stapler. Ultimately, yeah, it's going to go onto manila. But with our block, we tested it, right, on muslin. Or even if you're putting it on, here, I'll give you a hint. I'm gonna staple that guy shut. So, the labeling on this is, right, so you have your initials and then whatever number. I was doing 5 for Fash5, and then I don't know where we're at. I'll put 10. Just, oops, 2 zeros. We only need 1. And this, the name of this pattern is Princess Bodice Block. And we could call it Classic, but we're not doing the other one, so we're okay. And then this is the center, front panel. It's a size 8. We only need 1 because it's on the fold. It's going to be seamless, which I'll go over in red because it's a block. And your name, date, and the grain line, right? And then this is going to become a notch. Right, so is my princess, my manila one over there? It has dots. It's okay, don't put it, you can put it
Wasn't
away.
this one?
Yeah, so the other piece, the center front piece.
Isn't that what you couldn't find?
No, I couldn't find this piece. That's the
Center.
back. That one. There you go. So once I put this on manila, it's gonna look like this, right? I put this stuff on both sides because this is gonna get removed, and then this will only be on one side. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is gonna look like this, right? So on this one, I have same number, princess block. And this is the side front panel. Seamless. Size 8. I'm gonna need 2 of these. My name, whatever that is. Circle that in red. And then I'll cut this out and I'll have the same ease control notches. Is there anything else that's missing? The grain, what did you say? Grain line. Where the heck would we put the grain line on this?
Oh, that's true. Give me an example of the pattern on there.
And that piece just so happens to be missing, right? Right? So, any
I
ideas?
think it looks like it's maybe a notch at the neck. Something similar to that. Is that the piece you're working on? No. it
This is
isn't.
the side front,
Oh, okay. So it looks tippy.
right?
Yeah, it
Because
looks
there's really no straight edge on it.
So it's like it's from the middle and it's tipping straight up to that almost high point shoulder.
Yeah, kinda.
Where
I mean,
that
it
seam
might.
meet?
It might. But you know how sometimes the pictures in the book, like some little details that are important to us are like exact? If that makes any sense?
I want to
Go
say
ahead,
yes.
cut a little bit off. So
Because it looks like it's just pointing up.
here's
to
how you do it.
your forearm.
And those of you who've taken draping might remember this from draping it.
Oh.
You fold the side waist to match that dart placement, and you find the middle of the waist.
Mhm.
Then you square across from the side waist, I'm gonna go like this way, side waist to that dart placement line. I'm gonna go up like 1/4 of an inch so I can get a line all the way across because the waist is curved. So I went up 1/4 of an inch from this corner and 1/4 of an inch from this corner, so it's straight across. And I'm gonna square a line from center waist. So I have one of the lines of my ruler lined up with that line that I scored across, and the other at the center of the waist. And that's how I make my grain line.
Okay.
So there you go. So I'll put my arrows on that.